All right, let's go ahead and get started. My name is Ryan Lowe, and I work for Amazon Alexa. I'm a technical evangelist, so my job is to uh, educate and inspire developers to build with Amazon Alexa. And usually that comes in for me for comes in play with custom skills for Echo devices. So this is not my normal time slot tomorrow. I have a conflict when I normally stream, so I wanted to make progress, and so I wanted to keep going. So I'm doing it today, an ad hoc time slot, totally fine. So what am I doing? This is a stream where I'm building an Alexa skill over the course of many weeks, however long it takes me to build it. And what am I building? I am building a Alexa skill that will allow me to search and index previous office hours videos. So myself and my co-host Jeff Blankenberg every Tuesday morning, which was earlier today, get online and we stream live to a variety of different locations, office hours where developers can come and ask questions, and we try to answer them as best we can. At the end of each of those sessions, the videos get stored and archived in YouTube. So we have hours and hours of archived footage of these videos, Q&A. The hard part is it's really hard to get answers out of there. So if someone wanted to, they could go and search through hours and hours of videos, but no one's really going to do that to find one particular question that they have. And so I set this up. I built an infrastructure to do all the backend stuff. I haven't gotten anything to the skill yet, so I haven't even opened up the Alexa console yet to start digging in there and figuring out how we're going to play these videos. But the end result is going to be, I can say, Alexa, show me from office hours when Ryan and Jeff were talking about in-skill purchases. And it'll like zoom right to that point in the video if it has a screen and start playing it there. Or if it's just audio, if you have just a Echo without a screen, then it would just play the audio from that point in time. And you could skip and say, find me the next one, and hopefully be able to find the answer to your question. So I've been building all the backend, and I set up a trigger so I can capture new events from YouTube. There's a YouTube notification API that I tapped into so I can get notifications. And so I set it up, and I have everything except for actually saving this to a database. So I'm taking these videos, I'm downloading them into AWS, storing them in S3, converting the media types, and then running them through Amazon Transcribe and Amazon Comprehend. And then the end result is a bunch of full text indexed records that I can then put into a database. I'm going to put in Amazon OpenSearch, which is a full text database. So I'm working on the back end. I built like a really quick prototype of this a few months ago, but I haven't actually proved it all out and designed it. And so I'm just seeing what happens and just kind of exploring. So I set up this notification. We hosted office hours earlier this morning, and the notification came in about 2 hours before we actually started the broadcast. And I found out that's when we scheduled the broadcast. So when you do a live stream, you basically set up on YouTube, because we streamed to a bunch of different locations. YouTube just happens to be one of them. So we set up and we scheduled the broadcast at like 7 o'clock this morning. And then that's when the notification came over to AWS. And so my system tried to download the video, which didn't exist yet, and it failed completely. And this was surprising to me. I didn't really know exactly what to expect. The documentation around when these notifications are triggered is a little bit lacking. So thankfully, I did set it up to log all the different things, so I was able to piece back together kind of what happened. So quickly to show, this is the infrastructure I'm working with. And so again, we scheduled the office hours broadcast earlier this morning at I think it was like 7:30 in the morning. And then we went live at 10 this morning. And then by 11 o'clock, we were done. And I was kind of expecting at like 11 o'clock when the live stream ended, that's when we'd get a notification, or maybe we'd get a few notifications along the way, like one that's scheduled, hey, the broadcast is starting, and so on. But we didn't. We only got it for when this was scheduled. And a lot of times we schedule these videos, where we schedule office hours like a week in advance. Today we just were a little bit behind and we did it the last second. But a lot of times we'll schedule it the Wednesday before so it shows up on calendars for everybody. So this created a problem. So what I need to be able to solve this. And instead of sitting on this for a few more days, I wanted to just run with this and go. And again, I'm not going to be able to stream tomorrow morning. So this is kind of my replacement stream for that. So I did log a few different events. This is actually a screenshot of some JSON logging that I did. So what am I looking at? So the request came in, and the request from YouTube, the notification was exactly what I was thinking. I was able to pull out the video URL. We worked on that yesterday. And then I was able to kickstart off a state machine. So I'm using as much as I can serverless technology. So I'm using AWS step functions. I created a state machine, which kind of orchestrates this entire process. And the state machine gets kicked off by a signal, the notification, which goes through API Gateway into Lambda. So that worked great. It kicked off the state machine great. The only problem is I can't download the video right away. I have to actually wait. And in this particular case, I have to wait until my assumption is I need to wait until the stream is actually over before I can start downloading it, because I don't want to like download the stream in real time. I want to download the stream quickly because I'm doing it in a Lambda function. So I think I'm going to wait like an hour after it's supposed to start, maybe an hour and 10 minutes, because sometimes we run late, before I actually kick this off. So this is not a big deal. We just need to update our state machine to add a wait phase at the very beginning. So that's what we're going to do. And these are the events that I got. So these aren't the actual events I got. This is what happened when I called the API to get information on the video. You can see here, this is on the far left. This is when when it was scheduled. The broadcast was scheduled. You can see the status is live stream offline. The live event will begin in 2 hours. And thankfully, it gives me this scheduled start time property here, which I can use to kind of wait. So I'll just wait until this is up. This is, I think these two are both after the fact. So I was in the middle of office hours, so I couldn't capture what this looked like during that broadcast. Maybe I will next week if I still have trouble. But this was two different ones. One that was kind of right after, and then I also called the API again, like an hour afterwards, to see if the response was any different. I ran into another issue also, which is that the formats that I was expecting to pull down. So this API gives you a variety of different formats where you can pull down these videos. The format that I was expecting wasn't available. I don't know if there's some back-end process that takes these videos and recreates formats in the background of YouTube somewhere and then makes them available later. What I do know is that the version I was trying to get wasn't available at the time that I got the notification, or even an hour afterwards. So I need to resolve that as well. But I think it actually, they gave me a format that actually might work better. They gave me a format that has the audio and the video together, which before I wasn't able to get. But I think during the live stream or soon thereafter, there's a new iTag format. iTag is like how they specify the different types of formats that we can look through. So we'll get that fixed as well. And we're going to do a number of different things today. So let's just go ahead and get into this and start going. So basically, let me go over to AWS and show kind of what I'm thinking. By the way, I have no idea if by the end of this I'm going to have like anything working. It's just going to be fun. So this is my state machine. As you see, it's been failing. It's been failing a lot. The other weird thing is last night I ran a test and it was downloading like extremely slow. If that's something that persists a lot, then I have big trouble, because I was trying to download just the audio file, which is like 50 megs, and it was taking more than 15 minutes, which is how long the Lambda function has to execute. So if that is something that is systematic, I may need to rethink all of this, and I'm not entirely sure how to solve that yet, but let's assume that was just some weird glitch or something that happens late at night. But let's move on. So this is the state machine. So the state machine kind of orchestrates a bunch of Lambda functions and has a bunch of internal helper stuff. So immediately this thing kicks off by the notification, and what it tries to do is it goes to a Lambda function to download the video, and then it kicks off a conversion process. Before I was taking the audio and the video and merging them together. to give me one file that then I could run through Amazon Transcribe. And so this whole process kind of orchestrated it all. I need to modify this state machine and introduce a wait phase at the very beginning to wait for the stream to have actually scheduled to start. And I think I'm going to say schedule to start plus, let's say 70 minutes so that it'll actually end. What I'm wondering is I think I can download the stream in real time, but I want to do this from a Lambda function. So I want the Lambda function to run very, very quickly, not an hour-long stream. And I have another backup plan if this doesn't work, where maybe we can stream directly into Amazon Transcribe, because Amazon Transcribe, it does have a feature where you can stream in video. I don't want to do that. I'd much rather save off a version of this. And I'm not sure if the format from YouTube fits the live streaming format from Transcribe, but let's try to avoid that scenario unless we need to. It might simplify a lot of things, but again, I think what I want to do is I want to save off a version of this file in S3 so I have it, and then I don't need to constantly be streaming the video format. Okay, so the other thing is I'm going to let's go over to my code. So this is, let me close all this. I do have a repository where I am putting all this code as I'm going. So almost every day I'm committing this, all my code into my repository. There's a link to my GitHub repos from my Twitch dashboard, and you can see this. It's called Unofficial Office Hours Skill. It's one of my pinned repositories, so it should be pretty easy to find. But as I'm building all this using the Service Application Model framework from AWS, which sits on top of CloudFormation. So in here, I define all my infrastructure as a code. And you can see I'm defining like all the different Lambda functions that are needed. And then here I've defined the state machine, which orchestrates that entire thing. So the state machine is described in JSON, which is then put into a string, which is then in a big YAML file. Totally normal. Okay, so previously I started at YouTube download, and now I actually want to change this, and I want to start at YouTube info. So now what I need to do is, there's a couple different things I could do. There's one, I need to get the information. I need to call the API to get me this information that I was just looking at here, which tells me when the live stream is going. I could put this API call into my API gateway. So again, API gateway is being used for the event trigger from YouTube. But I really like to make my APIs as asynchronous as possible. So right now, all this API does is it receives the incoming response, it triggers a state machine, and then returns with a status OK. So I don't want these webhooks to take any longer than they absolutely need to. I try to do everything asynchronously. So I think what I'm going to do is I need to create a method, a Lambda function that will just call the API and get the information. So let's stub this one out here. So YouTube get info, I'll call it get info. And then this is going to be a type task. And then after this step, I'll stub out the resource part. And then the next step after this is going to be, let's call it YouTube wait. So I have wait states in here already. As you can see, like here I have like, I'm waiting for the conversion to happen. So here, YouTube wait. So instead of waiting for 30 seconds, I actually want to wait for a specific time period. And again, the notification comes when the stream is scheduled, the broadcast is scheduled, which in this case was like 2 hours before we broadcast this morning, but it could be 6 days before we broadcast. It could be 3 months before we broadcast. So seconds, I need to actually make this a dynamic property. And we can do that if I go over to my state machine, AWS, which one is this? What resource is this? This is a type wait. If I pull up my documentation, there should be a way. Yes, seconds path. So what I want to do, I could do a timestamp, but I don't think the timestamp allows me to do Yeah, it has to be a specific format. I think what I want to do is seconds path. So I can just calculate how many seconds until this thing needs to wait until we can continue. So seconds path would look something like this. Seconds path. They don't have the example, but it still would look something like this. So instead of specifying the number of seconds, I would do this timestamp path. So I want to do seconds path. So now I know this Lambda function needs to return a JSON object that has seconds wait, which will tell this step in the step function how long to wait. And then we can go to YouTube download. So just introducing this wait step. Okay, so I need to create a Lambda function. That Lambda function needs to return this. So let's go ahead and get started on that. And I am going to start by copying the definition of my YouTube download, but it doesn't need nearly that many permissions. So I call this YouTube get info. So all I'm doing right now is just defining the infrastructure, not the actual code. I'll do that in just a second. So I'm going to put this into a source folder over here. Get info is, so this is where my code for this function is going to exist. It does have to be a node because the library I found to call and get the YouTube information is actually in Node. I didn't find one in Python quickly that I thought would work really well. So this is going to be in Node. Most of my other functions are in Python. This isn't going to be a long-running one. It should be pretty quick. So I'm going to get rid of the runtime and the memory, and it should just, the default should be fine, which is 3 seconds and 128 megs. Okay, we don't need to pass in any of this information. Although, this is interesting. Maybe I'll pull this. So there's a step in the YouTube download. I like to have my Lambda functions have like a single responsibility. So each Lambda function only does one thing. My YouTube download, I cheated a little bit, and my YouTube download will download YouTube video, but also persist into DynamoDB metadata about that. Because I'm calling the getInfo API, so I might as well store that metadata. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to move that up here because I'm already calling it. So I will need the permissions for the DynamoDB. But my YouTube download will not need DynamoDB write anymore. So I'm going to get rid of that. And we'll just have to move that code over. Cool. That actually makes things a little bit cleaner. So as environment variable, I'm passing in the name of the DynamoDB table that I created elsewhere in this infrastructure. And then I'm saying this Lambda function has the permission to write to that table. Okay. Now I have this. So now what I want to do is I want to come down here and add this into my state machine. So resource, I use a string replace pattern when I'm writing JSON in a big giant YAML file. I don't know if this is the best way of doing it, but this is the pattern I do everywhere else. So I'll come down here, YouTube get info. So that string YouTube get info ARN is going to get replaced with the value of this resource's attribute ARN, which tells state machine which Lambda function to call. And then I need to come down here and say, by the way, state machine does have permission to invoke that function. Okay, so now we have that. We have we need to change the start. So it used to start at YouTube download. Now we want to start at YouTube get info. Awesome. Okay, so let's go into this. So this is the get info. I just copied and pasted my download folder. So in SAM, you kind of package up all your Lambda functions into different folders. That's how I do it, at least. And so then each of these get packaged into their own zip file and then uploaded into S3 when the deployment phase happens. So I'm stealing a lot from the download function I already wrote. So because it also has the right dependencies and everything else. So I just basically copy and paste that whole folder structure. So this is now the start of my index file for my Lambda for my get info, this file here. So what I want to do is I want to get rid of all of the download. So I created a helper function to help me download the streams. I'm going to get rid of that because I don't need it. .client I'll keep. I definitely need the YouTube library. So this is what I was talking about. So here I have, I'm calling get info and capturing a bunch of the information about the video. And then down here, this all talks about formats. This all exists in the YouTube download Lambda, so I'm just going to get rid of it here. But I do want to keep the DynamoDB table stuff. And then here's what I can do. I'll just get rid of this, get rid of this. So basically this function, all it needs to do is call getInfo, save it to the DynamoDB table. I'll remove that from the other DynamoDB table. And then hopefully all these properties exist when the stream is created. And then here I need to return the return value, which one of these is going to be the incoming YouTube URL. So when you return stuff from a Lambda function in a state machine, the return of that Lambda function gets passed to the input of the next stage, next step, next state in the state machine. So here I need to pass the YouTube URL so that the YouTube download knows what the YouTube URL is. If I don't pass it out, then it won't know where that is. And then the other thing is I need to get this value. So the response of this function I'm writing now needs to have a seconds wait property. And I'm pretty sure this needs to be an integer. Seconds. Well, the path doesn't, but the value of this needs to be an integer. It doesn't say, but their example has an integer type, not a string. I just want to make sure it wasn't a string. Okay. So now what we can do is look at our definition of the event. And the key thing here is that, like, if this isn't a live stream, then we want the seconds wait to be 0, and it'll just pass right through onto the next stage and actually download the file. If it does have a wait, then we want to verify that. So this is the structure that you get when you call getInfo. So what I'm going to do is it's okay. So let's let seconds, or this is epoch start. Be a good name for this. So epoch start is going to be info dot player response dot playability status that was weird. Dot status. Well, actually, okay, let's do this first. What we should probably do is check the status. So if status equals okay, it's like over here, we're ready to stream. So if the status is equal to okay, then just move on ahead and start streaming the data and download it. Then we could say if it's equal to this, we say 0. Else, let's get the timestamp. Playability status. Okay, where we're at. Okay, live streamability. That's a thing. And then live streamability render. And then offline. This is going to make me really nervous navigating all this. If these don't exist, then we have trouble. So I'm copying and pasting from a screenshot. Preview now and on Mac lets you do that. So here, this is actually a screenshot, but it's recognizing the text, but it's not exactly perfect. So I need to be very careful about this. Like for instance, this L is actually a lowercase L. Live streamability. Like this is not right. This should be playability. Player response, playability status, live streamability renderer, offline state. Oh my goodness. Offline state, offline slate. That is offline slate, isn't it? Offline slate. Live stream offline slate renderer. And then scheduled start time. Okay, and this is actually a string. So we're going to parse this into an integer. What do we do? Is it parseInt? I think that's right. And this is the epoch start. Okay, let me make sure that is. Here's my little trick to validate that, like, my JSON is correct, or my JavaScript is correct. parseInt. Cool, no big deal. Okay, awesome. So that gives us the start time. Epoch start. So it's either 0 or schedule start time. Okay, so what I want to do is then let seconds wait equal to otherwise I probably could have did this in a cleaner if statement, but here we are. So epoch start. So I want to take the current time, JavaScript get epoch. What I'm not sure about is what format, if it is milliseconds or not. That's what I'll do. I'll just do this. Cool. Yeah, that seems like the same formatting. Okay, so I can just use this. Let me do this. Const now equals that. I'm assuming. Well, yeah. That. Never mind. This. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay. So that gives me the now and epoch time. So epoch time is just the number of seconds since 1979 or something like that. So now, so this means I want to wait. We want to wait epoch start, which should be in the future, minus now. And then I want to add 70 minutes. 70 times 60. That should be times. Okay, so let's do this. Let's kind of verify some of this. Actually, let's get epoch converter. Okay, so let's find out what tomorrow. Okay, so epoch timestamp. So this would be tomorrow at, let's do 10 a.m. Okay, so this would be the epoch timestamp. I'm just verifying that, like, logically this is kind of all makes sense. So if I say that's when the scheduled start time is, and then I subtract now, subtract now, I get that. So that's the number of seconds, right? Divided by 60. I could have done that in this shell too. 720, okay, hold on. is this the right number of seconds? So that divided by 60 gives me a number of seconds, or number of minutes. 772 divided by this gives me a number of hours. So is that 12 hours from now? Yeah, that sounds reasonable. Okay, so where was I? I was back here. Then I said, what was that? Plus 70 times 60. Okay, so let's do this plus this. And let's see if if I convert this timestamp over that it is GMT 11:10. Hey, look at that. Perfect. Okay. Cool. So this gives me, this will give me either 0 just seconds wait, or it'll give me an hour and 10 minutes after the scheduled start time of the office hours video. What I don't like is I was wanting for like a real-time trigger. So as soon as the video stopped, or we stopped broadcasting, that it would automatically just trigger this over. That's not happening. That's fine. So now this function should return back this information and write to the DynamoDB table. But I also want to update. Let me update my YouTube download method, because remember now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out the DynamoDB stuff from this method, because I want this Lambda function to be as pure as possible and only really do one thing, which is download the videos. So all this stuff about writing the DynamoDB, I'm just going to remove because it's now done in the previous function. Okay, so now what I want to do is this, and one more time. Okay, so remove the DynamoDB stuff. I can probably remove all of this stuff. And so now we should be able to get the right information. One of these was interesting to me. Okay, I'm going to verify that we actually have, wrong window, that we still have all this data, because link seconds, that sounds exact. I was estimating 70 seconds, but this, I'm wondering if, okay, so my brain is wondering, does this exist when we are scheduling it? But it doesn't, because when we schedule it, we think it's only going to be 60 minutes, but a lot of times we go over, so it could be 65 minutes, could be 70 minutes. But now I'm wondering, does this property even exist during that first event, or is this going to blow up and cause a failure right away because some of these properties don't exist? So let me go into my logs and actually validate this. Oops, this is the right one. So I was monkeying around with this earlier. So I'm going to my CloudWatch logs where I have a lot of this logged from Lambda. CloudWatch. We'll come down here to YouTube download. And this was the one, this was the execution that it ran when it was scheduled. So this is the payload that I'll be working with. And this is a huge JSON file. And it actually didn't even log it in one go. Where was I? Here, yeah. Actually took more than one log statement because it's just that big of a beast. Let's format this. Okay, and again, this is exactly what I was looking at in that screenshot. So live stream offline, scheduled start time. I could have copied and pasted from here. It would have been much better. But what am I looking for? I am looking for info video details, that node, which is way down at the bottom of this, video details. Okay, so let's just verify each of these. So title, I saw that already. Video details, titles there. Description, I saw. Publish date. Let's close author. be great if these were alphabetized. See, publish date is not here. Oh, wait, there it is. Publish date, perfect. ID, I know that's there, but let's just verify that. Let's verify it is in where we think it's going to be. Video ID, is that right? Video ID. Description I saw in length seconds. This is the big one. I don't really need this one. It's going to be 0. And I don't need it. I was just capturing information because I had the information. So I'm going to get rid of links seconds. It makes me feel better that the property's there, just going to be 0. So if I kept it in, it would just be saving bad data, which I don't need. I don't need bad data. Okay, so now, so on the left here, we have my get info, which is going to determine how long the state machine needs to wait. And it's also going to log to DynamoDB. It doesn't need the, by passing it in, it just gets the metadata table name. Now I can remove the metadata table name from the YouTube download. Creates a dot client and stores it in. Waiting on the promise. Okay, so here now, I had a bunch of logging stuff to this just to get a little bit better understanding what's going on. And where we're going to run into trouble now is these two properties. So it's going to end up getting the new YouTube information. So now we don't want to look at that. Okay, let me be clear. So here I'm explicitly calling, when the event comes over, the very first thing the state machine does, I'm explicitly calling get info to get all the information and then waiting. Here I'm not explicitly calling get info. I was, but I got rid of it. I am actually still. So we'll call get info and so I can log it. It'll be good to keep logging it. But what I was getting ready to say is that the download function already, when I call download, it does actually do a get info. So I do end up getting the same information. But here it is probably good for me explicitly to download it or log it. And the reason why this is important is because when I was working with this before, I was working with old video files, like video files from like last week and older. There were certain formats that were available, which I was using. And when I was working with it earlier today, right after the stream was stream ended, those formats weren't there, but there was another format that was there. So I want to look at that log again. So that was at 7. Let's see. Let me look at it here. Is this the right one? I think it is. Let me look at this one. The live has ended. Okay, so let me copy this and format it. Again, it's a really long log message. I like the emojis in here. I don't know what that's about. Keep going to the wrong window. Okay, so let's format this. So this is right after the stream was over. And I think I got rid of what I was looking for. Oh, playability status, okay. So it has ended. Now, streaming, so here, these are the different formats that are available. I don't want to look at the adaptive formats. I want to look at, maybe that is what I want to look at. Micro format, close this. What I'm looking for is all the different iTag information. What is this? Go away. This is a pretty crazy API. Okay, so what I'm looking for is iTag, and here it is. It's at the bottom. they specify iTag. These iTags are what tag the different types of video formats. And originally, because when the stream ended, I was like, oh, well, let me just trigger this again and see if I can get the whole rest of the process to start downloading. It did not. And so what I had to do was then I looked at the error, and it said that 136, this iTag that I have been using, wasn't present. And if I look at this payload, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to find one. Actually, let me see if I can just do this. Can I just copy just this part? Whatever. Yeah, I know it's not valid JSON. Let me pull it up over here. So these are the formats that are available. And what I was looking for was, I made some notes here. So format 251 is just the audio only, because when we're working with the old files, I wanted a high quality version of this, but I couldn't find a high quality version that also included the audio. So what I was doing is I was downloading the audio and video separately and then using Media Convert to join those together and format it into a different format that Amazon Transcribe could use. And so I kind of like put that over here. And the maximum resolution that the Echo devices even support is 1280 by 720. So I might as well just get that version of the formatting. And so what I did was I found out, well, that is 136 iTag version. So that's what I was pulling down, but there isn't a 136 at this point. What was that? There is. Okay, what happened? Let me go back and look at the error message because maybe I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, that'd be cool. No such format found 136. So that's where I was getting this error message. So, I dug into this. Okay, this is what I found out. Okay, the library that I'm using for downloading the videos doesn't support. It only supports HLS formats. I'm not sure why. I don't even really know what that means. So what I had to do is find HLS equal to true. And what I was looking for is one that was in the format that I want, which is 720p. So I'm pretty sure iTag 95 is what I want to use. So if I were to put iTag 95 in here, all would be great. The problem is later when we're looking at these, and I actually saved a JSON later. So let me pull, this is what I need to check. If I'm looking at this sample, this is originally what I was working with. This is a sample of a super old video that I pulled. Here, if I look at formats, I don't think I could be wrong, but I don't think there is an iTag 95. There's not. So this presumably something happens where when we're live streaming, there's this format version that is perfect. If I go back here, 95 has the audio and video combined. It's a perfect format. I can just use this as is. It's got the resolution that I want, 720p. I'm happy. The problem is that seems to disappear at some point in time in the YouTube life cycle of videos, and it must do some background processing and then resave the videos in different format. And then you get something like this where you want to actually use 136. So if I look at 136, see here, this is also my 720p, but it has audio false. So this is where I had to download the audio and video differently. So what I need to do is I need to check for the presence of iTag 95. And I believe that my library does support this. So if I go to the documentation, let me open this window. We'll go to GitHub. there should be an API here to choose format. Thought there was one explicitly. Yes, this one. What I'm not sure about is what's the error. Okay, so let me look at this. That's my note, 95. So it's either 95 or 136 and 251. So choose format. So I want to, my preference would be 95 because that seems like that's going to work most of the time. But now let's see, does this throw an error? Throws an error if it fails to find the matching format. So let's just put this into try catch. Actually, I don't need to do anything because it. Okay, so how do I do this? I'm going to do constant constant promises equals array. So if this works, then what I want to do is I have a helper function here that just downloads the video. So what I'm going to do is say promises the push. I keep switching back and forth between Python and Node, and my brain is like frying because of it. Promises.push. Yeah, there we go. Cool. That's it. So here, then what I can do is, if not, then I'll just get these two versions. So I'm basically building up my promises, and then what I can do is just do this. Okay, so I have an array of promises. If I should probably put the right thing there. So, okay, if 95 is available, then it's going to use 95. Otherwise, it'll come down here and use 136 and 251. Okay, so the issue now is going to be my response here. So if there's only one promise, then this is going to fail because this index will be out of bounds with 1. So what I want to do is if length of results is equal to 1, I'll do that backwards actually. Audio key, if this is greater than 1, audio key can be this. Okay. So now if I only have one promise coming back, then I know that it's 95. It's going to have the video and audio only. I don't have an audio file. No big deal. We'll just go ahead and process, and we'll pass back empty string here, which means we also need to go and update the media convert function, which is the next step in the process to start the media conversion. And we have to check to make sure that we have an audio file location. So here, let me just do like something like this. Const has audio equals, does not equal that. So again, the output of my YouTube download is going to get passed to the very next step, which is the media convert. So starting the conversion process. And so this will either have a value or it'll be an empty string. So if it's an empty string, then we're going to say has audio equals false. And so what I'm going to do is like if has audio, then this. Otherwise, this will also be an empty string. And I'm realizing that this up here is Python. I switched from Node on the right to Python on the left. So, holy moly. True if that does not equal empty string. Else false. True if that does not equal that. If false. Okay. And then it'll be this value if has audio, else empty string. Okay. Let me make this bigger so I can see the whole thing. So if has audio, it's this value, otherwise it's empty string. And then this is where we have to change this. So, okay, now we need to actually go into media convert and look at what the settings are. So this is what it looks like if we do have an audio file. This is what the audio selectors looks like. So let me pull this out. To a variable. So this is what it looks like if we do have audio, if we do have a file. Okay, so let's just say if has audio. And maybe I'll just do this whole thing here. Not even worry about that. Okay, but media convert. What does this look like when there is not? So what I'm getting at is when you create, what I was doing was basically taking two inputs, the video and saying the audio location is somewhere else, and putting it together when I created a job. Now I need to say, but if there isn't, if it's all one together, then what I want to do is specify that. And let's view the JSON for this. I think one of my old media convert jobs has this specification, so I can just hopefully copy and paste it. Okay, audio select. Yes, this is what I want. Audio selectors. Tracks one. So by default, the audio track will be track one. So this will be for our streaming. If we get everything together, then everything's fine. We just say audio, just pull it from track one. The audio is important because that's what we're transcribing. We're good. If it does, this is interesting. So it's not if the video has audio. If I have an audio key, let me just rephrase this. It has audio key. This will make it more explicit. If I'm getting past an audio key, which means a key, S3 key, so I have a separate audio file, then I say my audio selectors is defined as audio selection one is from an external audio file, and I pass it that audio file. So I think this will work. I think this should all be fine. If this all works on the first time, like, I would be amazed. I'm usually not that good. I usually have bugs all over the place, like missing semicolons or extra semicolons in Python because I thought I was writing Node, but I'm in a Python file, that sort of thing. But let's see what happens when I go to build this. So let's build this. So what am I doing? So I'm using SAM to do a deployment. So I'm defining in my infrastructure, writing on my code on my local machine, And I'm using the service application model to deploy all this out to the cloud, to my cloud environment. This is built on top of CloudFormation, SAM is. And so what it's doing is it's going into each one of these Lambda functions and compiling it. So it's pulling down all the dependencies using npm or pip and packaging all those up into a zip file, and then it's going to upload that up into S3 in my account, where then I can deploy that code into the Lambda functions as they're defined by the infrastructure that's in the CloudFormation template. And I'm going to take a break from talking and get a drink. Josh will make sure that no one's trying to get a hold of me. Streaming at an odd time, so I'm wondering if people are going to be looking for me, but I doubt it. I'm not that important. Cool. No one threw a random meeting on my calendar. So this takes time because it's using Docker so that it can be built in the same infrastructure, same architecture as what Lambda runs in the cloud. There's a special Docker image for this. So what it'll do is it'll compile this and it'll look at what is already deployed in the cloud and then give me a diff and say, do you want to deploy this change set? Which of course I will want to. Now it's getting to my node ones. My original plan was just to wait till Friday to continue working, but I got excited and really wanted to work on this. So here we are. I should probably update my schedule on Twitch. My dog's having a daydream over there. Or not daydream, she's sleeping. She's dreaming. Okay. Change sets. Let's hopefully this works. Cool. Yes. Modify all that. So now it's going to go apply these changes, and hopefully this part works where it's going to deploy the infrastructure changes. A lot of times I have typos here, I'll forget a comma or forget a double quote, and then this whole thing fails. I have to go back and restart the process, but hopefully the state machine will just update nicely and cleanly. Really hoping. This is a super nice way to be able to manage all of your infrastructure. So when I check this in, then anyone can download this and run. It'll deploy the exact same infrastructure into their account, so they can build the same exact pipelines and everything else. And it worked. Fantastic. Okay, so let's go into here and let's just take a look at the state machine. Let's see if it looks like what we're kind of expecting. So maybe the definition, perfect. Get info, then it waits, and then it downloads the YouTube video. So I did replicate the signal I get from YouTube here. So I'm just going to post this back in. This is the signal, the exact same signal that they sent me earlier this morning at 7 before when the broadcast was scheduled. So let's just see what happens. I'm going to send this request. The Lambda function returns very quickly because all it's doing is saying state machine run. And then the API is super quick for that reason. And if I come over here, oh, it failed. Failed very quickly. Awesome. Okay, that's no big deal. Why did it fail? This failed. Error 410. I don't know what that is. Okay, let's go into the function and see what happened. So this is a step input. I'm going to copy this. So this is state machine, like will pass. So this is state machine. It'll pass in this input to the Lambda function. So I can copy this and basically call my Lambda function directly. So let me open up the Lambda function. Before I forget, the first thing I'm going to do is create a test, configure a test event with this input. So now I can...
Sorry, I'm not sure.
My Alexa got triggered. Okay, so let's verify a couple different things. So let's verify that it did get created correctly, has the default permissions there. That's great. The permissions here. Interesting. Environment variables. Okay, so let's just test this and see what the results are. I'm guessing it's going to say error 400 or 410. Okay, client requests. What is that? Okay, so I'm going to put this over here. I hate it when you move this tab over, it like says there's no execution results, so you have to execute it again. Huh. Hopefully that's not the problem. I think it is. Key. What was key? So I was... there we go. So name is the safe name. Key. So I don't need that. Key was the S3 key that this thing used. Wrong window. Key was like where I actually stuck this in S3, but I already know what that is based upon the name. So it's derived data, so I don't need to store it as a separate column. Let's hope that was it. Just saying like, hey, you can't save to DynamoDB something that doesn't exist. So I wrote it on my local machine, but I'm debugging it. I'm trying to like fix it up in the cloud because it's much easier. I don't have to rebuild everything, just deploy this one. But when I'm done here, I need to go back to my local and change it there because that's like the authoritative source. Okay, interesting. So we got further. That seemed to be that problem. So let me go back to my code and get rid of this or minimize that now. It's just confusing me. If I go back to my code for get info, I'll get rid of key here because that doesn't exist. And I should have anyway, I need to try on some sort of linter that'll tell me that sort of thing. I configure, so I use Atom and then I get it configured how I want, and then I switch to a new computer or reinstall, and then I had to like refigure out how I liked Atom to set up. I need to like save those settings and document it somewhere so I can, like one time I spent a ton of time getting Atom exactly how I liked it, and then I don't have that anymore. Okay, so this took too long. That's interesting. I didn't expect this to take more than 3 seconds. Because all it's doing is maybe the API takes a while to get info API. So that's no big deal. So let's go over and change the configuration. Let's just increase this to like 20 seconds. I don't want to give it too much time. Because if it ever gets hung, then it can, it'll go until 20 seconds. If I give it like 2 minutes, then it might just hang for 2 minutes, and then I have a bunch of lambdas hanging for 2 minutes, and then I'm paying way too much money for that. Cannot read status of undefined. That was that typo. There's a V there. This is why I shouldn't copy and paste from a screenshot. This does make this is nervous to me, right? So I'm doing all these, like, I'm navigating JSON that may not exist, and you get errors like that. The API is slow to get the YouTube info. Seconds wait 0. That's what I expected because this is an old video. Okay, so what's this mad about? What's this mad about? Missing semicolon. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to paste over my local. So I have everything that I fiddle around with is now on my local, so that when I commit this or rebuild it, it'll copy over. Let me resend this event and trigger a new state machine, and let's see what happens. Oh, but I do need to update my infrastructure definition. So if I redeploy this now, it's going to re-update that default back to 3 seconds. So my YouTube get info, let's give it 20 seconds. Okay. My state machine should be running again. And it failed. Failing's not necessarily bad. I just wrote a ton of code that didn't test any of it. Okay, this is good. So now we're getting further. So YouTube info ran and was past this and returned this, seconds wait 0. This immediately fell through because I told it to wait for 0 seconds, so it immediately moved on to the next step. The input here was, again, what we passed from the output of the previous function. And bingo, syntax error. This is the type of stuff that I was expecting. Minute details. So, yes, I know. Okay. There's pretty obvious. Bingo. Oh, that's brilliant of me. So I probably shouldn't have deleted all of that. So here, I need title. So in the download function, I'm getting the title of the video, and I'm creating like a S3 safe name for it so that I can use that when I'm saving this off. So that's great. I know that's not being used. Am I that stupid? This promises. Yep. I am stupid. There we go. See, like, I should have a better editor installed on my machine than the Lambda console. Like, I need to fix that. Okay. So now I saved that. That should work. Let me send another event through. Meanwhile, let me copy this code and paste it over my local. Great. So now there should be a new state machine. It's running. That's a good sign. Didn't fail completely. Okay, so it did download. It downloaded one file. Awesome. Awesome. So media convert start. Took that in. Let's look at the media convert job that just started. It's already complete. How did it go that fast? Let me look at this file. Okay, so it's February 1st, 2022. Only 3 megabytes. Uh-oh. There's something not right here. That should have been much bigger. I'm going to download it and see. That's way too small of a file. Dang. Okay. 3 megabytes is way too small of a file. So what happened? My YouTube download failed me. My logic here failed me. So, but I have this. I have this here. Let me take the step input, and let's trigger this directly. So I modify my test event, save, and let's hit test and see what happens. Because I should be logging quite a lot. Okay. So you got the right iTag version, 95. But I expected that to be much longer than... Okay, so let's go back and look at this. iTag 95. Why is this file so small? So one of the things, so I'm in the Lambda, it has all the node modules, and what I was doing is I was looking at the different formats that they have. I was just looking at their source code. Really frustrated that that file is so small, because I would have expected a much larger file. And I'm looking this library only supports HLS true, so my options are pretty limited as far as what I can pull. So let's go to... Oh, click the wrong link. Go away. Let's look at issues. This is interesting. So my question is, if I look at the okay, I'm terrible about not actually reading documentation. But let's go to the CloudWatch logs. The whole thing finished. The whole state machine finished, which is impressive considering the video is very, very short. Okay. Starting download. So let me look at this output. Oh no, where was I? This one. I really like those emojis. Format beautify. Formats. I can try iTag 96. But I think it's going to be the same exact problem. This is not a bug. Live buffer is straight pass through. Might be worth opening an issue there. Live buffer. need to specify a live buffer. That's not what I'm looking for. Look for a live buffer in this repository, figure out where. Options. It's just an options, and the options get passed in. Stream info options. Yeah. I'm just going to blindly try adding. Oh, I have too many windows open. This is it. Let me blindly try adding what that one person on the internet recommended. This is the wrong method. This is the kit info. This is the old. Hold on. I'm going to start closing some windows. Yeah, let me get rid of this YouTube download because I have this one over here. Let me close some windows. Okay. This is YouTube download. This is the function I'm wanting to modify. Okay. Here, quality of that. Let's pass in as an option, live buffer, 4,000. Please. And again, that downloaded really, really fast. Oh, I closed the S3 bucket. Why did I do that? Now it's 1 megabyte. That seems to have made it significantly worse. Definitely, that was not the right move. Let me go back to the documentation. Yeah, that. Well, shoot, dang. For live videos, live buffer, how much time use? See, here's my problem. At some point, I'll get more formats when I call this API. I don't know when that is, and I don't want to wait that long. This library only works with HLS equals true, but when I pull from these, it seems to only download like a megabyte or something really small. So I need to figure out what the best path forward this is going to be. Previously, I saw in the documentation, or actually in the source code, where they were filtering out HLS false values, like not even considering them as a format. True. It's one of these formats at the beginning. All right, I may have to do some research here. I think I'm at a stopping point. I probably have to move on and do some other things. I think I have a meeting come up here in just a minute. Let me added a wait phase between scheduling live stream and it being available. So I just committed all that to my repo. So I will continue this on Friday. This is probably going to drive me nuts. I'm probably going to just be Googling this and looking through more documentation in that library trying to figure this out. So I might actually solve it before Friday. It's probably just some flag or something I need to set, or my whole approach is wrong and I need to figure out a whole new way of handling this. Either way, I will continue to tackle this and continue to work on it, and hopefully we make some progress. But with that, I appreciate everyone who's following along for this fun ride, and we'll just keep at it until we get this thing working. All right, thanks.